Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name's Jay Wilson. I'm a freelance consultant through my company Onyx Reporting. Usually I do content about Domo or I'll build content about jet reports, but today I thought I'd do something a little bit interesting based off of a question my wife asked me about building Gantt charts in Excel. Um, Earlier in the Christmas holidays, I was walking past my wife's desk and I just saw this massive Excel spreadsheet and she was like poring over it, making little micro adjustments, each painstaking step at a time. And I was like, oh, you've got a Gantt chart. And it was terrible because every time the problem was like, oh, this project, this task has slipped a couple weeks or whatever, and then she has to update the whole chart. And I was like, there has to be a smarter way of doing this. So here we go. We're going to be building a Gantt chart in Excel. Now, if you guys are usually here for my jet reports content or my Domo content, stay tuned because you can take this model that we're going to build and use it in the other platforms. But also, I think what's valuable is thinking about how you can break down something as complex or as potentially robust as a Gantt chart tool or a project management tool and turn it into little incremental steps that allow you to get it done in an automated fashion using just basic Excel. So here we go. Obviously the dream of dreams of the Gantt chart is to be able to say, hey, I've got a set of tasks. Each task is dependent on a parent task. Each task has the number of days that I expect it to take to complete. If it changes, oh, this is just not going out far enough into the future. If it changes, I want to know what that impact will be on my timeline. For some tasks, if the expected end date is greater than the actual date it has to be done by, I need that notification. And of course, ideally, I want to be able to see in like some sort of color-coded format what activity is happening when. Let's build it. So I'm going to model my Gantt chart off of a potential community event, maybe hosted online via Zoom, where people come together and talk about Domo. If that's something that's interesting to you, if you want to see some sort of a community event hosted online where people really dive into things like governance or ETL development or anything like that, let me know in the comments. Let me know some things you're interested in. Maybe shoot me an email and let's have that conversation. All right, let's get to it. So um, I'm designing a conference that I want to host. Each step has its parent steps, and then of course I know the duration. How long do I think the thing is going to take? So the first question, of course, is going to be, well, when does it actually start and end? When do these tasks start and end? So let's say I'll have a column called start date, end date. And of course, the start and end of a task is dependent on the end date of the parent. Cool. So for the first one, there is no parent, so the start date is equal to this plus 1, and the end date is going to be equal to the start date plus the duration. Pretty straightforward stuff. Now, for the second task, calls for submissions, it is dependent on the parent task, so the parent end date is going to be a VLOOKUP. Look up that value in this array and return column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I want it to be an exact match. Cool. So let's eyeball this. Calls for submissions and speakers is dependent on the completion of defined mission. Defined mission ends on day 3, so my parent is day 3. Perfect. In terms of start date and end date, the start date is going to be the end date plus 1, so that's 4. And the end date is going to be 4 plus 1 is 5. Let me make the duration a little bit longer so it just like stands out a little bit more. Cool. If I pull this all the way through, does it give me what I want? Let's see. Let's sense check advertise event. Okay, so advertise event is dependent on completing website revisions. I'll complete website revisions on the 32nd day. And so my parent end date is 32nd, my start date is 33, 38. Okay, that checks. Let's look at finalize schedule. So finalize schedule is dependent on my committee selecting speakers. Committee selecting speakers ends on 10. So I have 10, 10. 10 plus 1 is 11. 11 plus 4 is 15. Okay. So my start date and end date works as desired. I handed this over to my wife and I was like, hey, babe, what do you think? Am I done? And she's like, Jay, no. Knowing these numbers of days, 1, 3, 4, 17, that's not helpful. I would love to see, like, kind of in a proper Gantt chart, what tasks are happening at the same time, and so on. I was like, okay, fine. So now I need to create like my workday in kind of situation. So this is going to be 1, and this is equal to 1 plus 1, and let me pull that out. Cool. Let me cut this down a little bit so it doesn't go out too far. Okay, cool. So am I working on this task on workday 1? Well, I am working on the task if the workday is between the start date and end date. If the workday, right, so I need to do an and, if the workday is greater than or equal to the start, and the work date is less than or equal to the end date. And if that's true, I'll return working, otherwise I return a blank. Did that work? Oh, I said return a blank, please. Autofill. Okay. So activity is happening between 1 and 3, happening between 4 and 7, happening between 8 and 11. I just cut it off. And here 4 through 10. Okay, it's working as expected. And again, of course, if I set this to 2, set that to 2, right? The whole thing updates automatically. I love it. Let's just pull this guy across. Sweet. Looking good. And so I sent this back to my wife and I said, okay, it's not color coded, but does this kind of look like what you want? She said, Jay, no. It doesn't help me to know workday number 1, workday number 2. I want to actually know the day of the week that these things are happening. And keep in mind, nobody works on Saturdays and Sundays. Okay. So we just, I'm making theatrics out of this, right? But the trick in all of this design is to tackle each incremental piece one chunk at a time. Yeah, it helps if you have like a vision of where you're going, but just bite off one chunk of the task at a time. Okay, so here's my date, and it's, did I put that in the wrong column? Sure did. Okay, so here's my date column. That's fine. But I don't work on every day of the week. I only work on not weekends. And so a weekend is defined as when the work day is greater than or equal to 5. So let's start with the week day first. And so I can do weekday of, oh my wow, this. And I think I want version 2 to make Monday through Sunday. Cool. Oh, I want my project to start on today. So 1/8/2021. All right, which is weekday 5, because today is Friday. If I pull this out, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Okay, works as expected. But I don't want to know the weekday. I want to know, am I working? So I'll turn this into a binary flag, like a 1 or a 0 is weekday. And all I'll do is I'll wrap this in an if statement. If my weekday is less than or equal to 5, then return a 1. Otherwise, return a 0. I want to know, am I working that day? Yes or no. So that says here, Saturday, Sunday, not working, working, not working, working, and so on. Fine. So now that I know if people are working or not, the workday is going to be the cumulative sum of my working days since the start of the project. Cumulative sum of working days since the start of my project. Yeah, and I just need to lock this column reference. Yep. Okay, so here's one. Oh, what did you do wrong? Oh man, really struggling with these cell references today. Okay, so here's one. Friday is the first working day. Saturday and Sunday are also part of the first working day because I wasn't working. The second working day is on a Monday, and it increments, and then here, another Saturday-Sunday combination, I wasn't working, then the next Monday will be a 1. Okay, this is working as desired. Let me pull this down, and let's pull this across for a really long time. Let's go through column C. That'll be enough. Okay. But, darn it. Oh, Excel. Sometimes you kill me. You're great, but sometimes you kill me. Awesome. And I go all the way through day 31. Yep, my last project ends on day 31. Okay, that's kind of good, right? Like, I can see, if I hide these rows, I can tell my wife, hey, look, these are the dates, the actual working dates that people are working on this specific task. She's like, yeah, but Jay, I kind of want it here in like this columnar format so I can just see at a glance when my projects are starting and ending. Never ending change requests. So what is my expected start date? What is my expected end date? Can I get that in columnar form? Okay. So those of you who know Excel very well, you might think, oh, you could use the net workday function or some permutation of that. But for now, I'm actually going to rely on what's represented in my chart. I'm going to choose to avoid network days because I could extend this is weekday to maybe include is holiday, right? What if I knew in advance that these are holidays when my team just aren't working for whatever business reason or, because of the holiday schedule? I want to be able to build that into my report. I won't do that for this, but, keep it in the back pocket. That's something you consider. All right, so I want to know the expected start date. What I'll do is I need to do a VLOOKUP now, an HLOOKUP that says lookup 1 in this array and then return the date of that workday. Now, in order for an HLOOKUP to work, the lookup value has to be in the first row. So I have to have my workday up here. A little bit silly, but that's kind of how HLOOKUPs and VLOOKUPs work. So let's pull that across. And now I'm going to write my equals HLOOKUP, horizontal lookup, the start date in this array, and it goes through column CC, and return the second row. Give me an exact match. Please work. Index number 1 is the same as 1.8. If I copy paste this over, end date workday number 3, 1, 2, 3, corresponds with 112. I love it. And I'm telling you that my project is going to end on 2/19. Why don't... Oh. Aha. Here. 2/19 is the first. It happens to end on a Friday, right? And Saturday, Sunday are the same day. So this project is ending on 2/19. There you go. So I handed this Gantt chart over to my wife, and I was like, hey, is this what you're looking for? And she's like, Jay, God, that's, oh, you're so close. We're almost there. Here's the problem. The problem is we obviously work with executive sponsors and partners, and sometimes a partner will say, hey, we'd love to support you on this thing, but I'm not available to start participating in this committee selecting speakers. I can't start this activity before a certain day. Like I can't start before the 20th. So we can't, even though all of these tasks, the parent might be already done, the parent task is already finished, I can't start this activity until the 20th. So can you accommodate an minimum earliest, there we go, an earliest start date? Alternatively, our sponsors, they have deadlines too, right? So they want to know for sure that you're meeting a maximum end date. Drop dead, no matter what happens, if we change these, project schedule, slip and move, I need this event to finish by the 3rd of March. And drop, no matter what, I just can't start. The resources will not be available before 1/20/2021. How can I factor those earliest start and maximum end dates into my calculation? Okay, well, first we need to know what workday index are these dates. So let's calculate the earliest start index and max end index. And so again, we're going to do an H lookup. Let me do it on this row. So look up this value in this array. We're going to start on the date column and go down to the workday. Now return row 1, 2, 3, and again, give me an exact match. And let's see. 1/20/2021, is that day 9? 1/20. Yes, that is day 9. Okay, so that's pulling the correct index. Now if I copy that all the way through, I get an H lookup error because blank is not a value in my array. So, okay, I don't want to have an error, so I'm just going to wrap this in an if error, then return a blank. Let's copy paste that all the way down. Looking good. I'm going to copy that function into my max end date, but now I'll just shift the column that I'm looking at. Boom. March 3rd, 2021 is the 39th working day since 1/8/21. What did I say I'm looking up? 3/3/2021. 3/3/2021 is the 39th working day since the start. That is correct. Cool. All right, so I have my maximum start and end dates. How can I update? Um, what do I have to update? I have to update my start and end date index. Okay, now we just have to talk through the rule. I'm just going to highlight this row so I can find it more easily. All right. I can't start this task before this date. In other words, if six is greater than 9, sorry, if 9 is greater than my parent end date plus 1, then use the earliest index, else use the parent end plus 1. Yeah, like that's easy. Okay, so if the start date is greater than or equal to, sorry, if this is less than or equal to L18, then use that value. Otherwise, use the parent end date. And that checks, right? I can't start before this date. Now, what if my dependency is 2? What if this moves up? Oops, sorry. What if my duration of the parent goes to day 3? All right, so 7 is still less than 9. What about 5? So 5, 9 and 9 are equal. Then this math is right. So if the parent end date is on the 9th, then I can start on the 10th. Let me dial it back 1. If the parent ends on the 8th, then I can start on the 9th. That checks out. And let me copy up and down. Oh, sorry, no, I should not be. I need to fill this up and down. And I get a bunch of value errors because here the earliest start date index is not populated. So now I just need to extend this if statement. So I only want to test this row if the earliest start index does not equal a blank. Right, there's no value here, so I just automatically use the parent end date. But if there is a value here, then I need to test that greater than or equal to math. And I'm going to do the same thing for my end date. Sorry, no, I don't have to do anything to my end date because all I have to do is shift the position of the start date, then I just run my math based off of the duration. All right, let me get rid of all of this yellow because I think we're done. So again, I send this over to my wife and she's like, Jay, there's a lot of ugly stuff here I don't need to see. Can I hide some stuff? I'm like, yeah, fine. We'll hide this. So here, this is where your sponsors and people can say the constraints of when this project must start or when this task must be finished by. I don't need these columns. Let me hide that. Okay. Now the only thing left to do is maybe just put like a warning or something if this value is, if the expected end date is greater than the maximum end date. So is warning. And so we'll say if this is greater than, if the expected end date is greater than the max, then we've got a problem. And I think I have an extra parentheses in here. Okay, we have no problems because 223 is a good amount less than 33. But what if my project starts slipping? This call for submissions, in reality, it's probably going to take like 10, 15 days for someone to come back to us. If this goes out 15 days, I already receive a warning. Okay, well, what's the maximum number of days I can float this and still be good? 10. The maximum number of days my call I can allow for my call for submission to speakers is 10 days before I exceed um, this. Oh, okay. Well, what if I can convince my sponsors to release this resource a day early? Does that impact? Okay, no impact. Um, I'm not here to play the game or anything like that. Like, I handed this back to my wife and I said, look, if you want more than this, you're going to have to start paying me money because I'm a consultant. I get paid by the hour, right? But the point is we took something nebulous and conceptual like a Gantt chart. We broke it down into individual transformations or individual steps that we need in order to get this visualization and user experience that we want. And in order to do that, we have to explain what we want in plain English. And I think that's like the key. Well, it doesn't matter if you're doing jet reports or Domo or Excel and like complicated. I mean, it's not that complicated, but complicated functions. You want to say it in plain English, that experience that you're looking for. And then you just try it out one small step at a time. My name's Jay Wilson. I'm a freelance consultant through my company Onyx Reporting. This is what I do. Whether it's Domo, Jet Reports, Power BI, or Excel, like I just solve problems. So if you need any help, give me a holler. If you want to talk more about putting together like a community event where we get some speakers talking about Domo and the work that we've done in Domo, let me know and we'll see what we can put together. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.